Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our mock draft 2.0. Following the combine, we have some new rankings, new movement. We'll see what the new tiers have developed into with this mock draft. We've got Matt English in the house. Hopefully he doesn't get sick this time like last one. Seems to be in good spirits. I don't think he'll be leaving us on this one. But Matt, glad to have you in here today for the mock draft. Are you ready to go?
Always. I love drafting, even when they don't count for anything. Drafting is fun.
I think we all love drafting. It's just that hitting of the button.
Look, I wouldn't be in as many leagues if I wasn't so in love with drafting. I'll say yes to a league just so I can draft.
Right?
That's it.
I hear you. It is that dopamine rush of clicking draft on a new shiny rookie. No idea what he's actually going to do, but we have an idea, but they don't always come to fruition. So anyway, we're going to do a real simple format here. We're just going to go back and forth. I'll start with the first pick. Matt will take the second one. I'll take the third. He'll take the fourth. And we are going to use for context, we'll use a simple cookie cutter format, 12 team super flex, little tight end premium, half point tight end premium, start 10. And so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump on this running back who sounds like he's pretty good. And that would be Ashton Genty. Now, I watched him play a few times last year, and he's everything as advertised. I'm not worried about landing spot with Genty. We have no landing spots here, so that takes things out of context a little. For Matt here with the second pick, who do you lean right now?
Oh, yeah. So this one's tough here. This is why I hate the 2 spot. And unfortunately for me, I think I have the 2 spot in a couple of dynasty drafts this year. So hopefully I can turn that into something else because I really don't want to pick here in most rookie drafts. However, it's a very valuable pick. And if I'm again forced to pull the trigger here, I'll say that probably before every pick. I'm going to take Ted because to give this kind of draft capital, I would want a guy that I feel is going to be around. He's not a depreciating asset. He's got the build I'm looking for. I think he's immediately a touchdown guy in fantasy, right? I think he's someone as a rookie that could put up 10 or more touchdowns simply on size and red zone looks, right? So, that's what I'm going to say to justify my pick.
Yeah, the comps for Tet are fantastic. Drake London, Mike Evans. I see both of their games in that. Both of those guys have been able to produce. Drake London maybe not quite on the level that we've all hoped, but he got better last year, and I think he can get even better with another year of Michael Penix, a full off season with Penix. But back to Tet, their games are very similar. I mean, even Tet, the way he lines up at the line of scrimmage, it's like he's watching Mike Evans film to see how he lines up at the line. And so if he can come anywhere close to what Evans has been able to do so far in his career, I think it'll be well worth it at the 102. Now, I'm on the clock here at the 103, and again, you mentioned it at the 102. This is a spot where you can, with this draft class and the talent level, there's a big tier here. So this is a spot where in your league, if you're not dead set on somebody, this is a good opportunity to try and trade back, maybe get another mid to late first plus another first. That's what I would try to do, try to split it into 2 firsts somehow. That's where I would start. If you get an early second, that's good too, because I think there's from a macro perspective, there's a very large tier, you could say, But I'm sure as landing spots happen and we discuss further the combine and players, there's probably going to be at least one kind of tier break that happens here in the first. But we'll see. As of right now, again, I'd probably trade back. But if I got to make this pick right now, today, I'm going to go with one of the big winners at the combine, and that would be Omarion Hampton, running back out of North Carolina. I've seen him go as high as pick 12 now to the Cowboys. So that, of course, Genty in that mock, he went pick 6 to the Raiders. So Hampton there for the Cowboys would be a smash spot for him. But there's a lot of spots where Hampton could go in the first. Talking Denver, Chargers, a few other spots that would be awesome for him. So I don't mind taking Hampton at all right here.
Yep. Good pick.
You're up at the 4.
Whoa. So from the 4 spot, let's see here. All right. We are super flexed. So that does make this a little bit easier for me. So with all the stuff swirling around, the number 1 pick in the draft that the Titans currently hold, I think most of us in our communities believe that the Titans aren't taking that pick. They're going to trade it off. But the one I've been hearing a lot of is New York moving up to get it. And if that's the case, and Cam Ward does land with the Giants, I like some of the weapons he's got starting out. Plus, he's got legs. So I'm going to take Cam Ward here. I feel like last year we had fired off 3 quarterbacks by the end of the 4th pick. And this year we'll just take the first, right? So I'll take Cam Ward at the 4th pick.
No, I think Cam is a great example of he's got a solid floor, yet he's got that gunslinger in him. You mentioned Brett Favre in the last episode. That's what I see out of Cam. So it'll come down to the situation he lands in and the coaching he gets, whether they're able to sort of rein it in and tell him when and when not to take those chances, because you don't want to take that away from him. That's what is making him the potential number 1 pick overall is his risk aversion. Like, you can't just be a game manager and expect to win multiple Super Bowls in the NFL right now. You've got to have a guy that is willing to take chances. You know, look at the Eagles. They were up 27-0, and Jalen Hurts went ahead and went for the dagger, right? That's not what a game manager does, right? They would have just started handing it off at the beginning of the second half, the Eagles there. But so I like the pick, Cam Ward at number 4. Now I'm going to go back to the running back position, which is, as you all well know by now, very deep in this class. And I'm going to go with the guy who I like ever so slightly over his college teammate right now, and that'd be Quinshon Judkins. I think that Judkins and Henderson are very close. Yeah. It really will come down to landing spot. But for me, Judkins is that first and second down grinder. Reminds me a lot of J.K. Dobbins, basically, right now. And if you remember Dobbins back in college, he was he could break away. Now Judkins doesn't have the 4.3 speed that like Bershul Tootin showed off at the combine, but he still ran a 4.4, 4.45, I think. And that's more than acceptable for running backs at the next level. I think that his vision is amazing. And so that's where he will shine, whether he ends up in, I'm looking at Denver, Pittsburgh.
Ran a 4.48.
4.48. Okay. 4.45, 4.48. I don't care.
No, I'm just for specifics, right? Just to
thank you. Thank you for that, though.
Yeah, he's a complete back. He doesn't have necessarily that top end speed, but he's a complete back with great balance, great body balance.
Yes, his balance is awesome, and he will be He will be a starter from the get-go, whichever team grabs him. I'm eyeing up Denver, Pittsburgh, or the Chargers for him specifically. If he does fall to the beginning of the second round, he could land in Cleveland or with the Raiders. Then both good opportunities for lots of touches right out of the gate for a young running back. So I'm going Quinshon there. You're up now, Matt, at number 6.
Man, this one's tough because I would go back and forth if I'm sitting at the 6th pick here. It would come down to need. I don't even know what need we're going to hypothetically say I need here. But, we saw last year Brock Bowers go around this range, probably another pick. So that's
top
that's
8.
where I would be right now.
Top 8 Bowers wing.
I'd be going back and forth between Tyler Warren and Henderson here. That's tough. I'm probably going to go with Henderson if I had to pick out of this mold, just because I'm still not 100% sold on Tyler Warren, and I'd be more comfortable taking him a few picks back.
Fair enough. Well, I'm going to jump on Warren then. I still like him as the tight end 1. I know that some are pushing Loveland ahead of him ever so slightly. It comes down to more of a fit thing, I think, between the two. Loveland's more of your traditional tight end, sort of a Mark Andrews style. I've seen him comp to. And Warren, I think, is more of the new mold at tight end. If you look at his numbers from last year, not only did he get over 100 catches and 1,200 yards on the receiving side, he ran for 200 yards and some touchdowns as well. So you can see he's sort of in that Brock Bowers mold, and where he's a chess piece and he can be moved around, play some H-back. So I think he has the potential, for me at least, to score a little more in fantasy than Loveland, I guess, as far as the ceiling goes. I think they're both going to do very well, and I can see him going back to back in a lot of drafts here. Not that I'm forcing you to take Loveland here.
I'm not. I'm not. So I'm going to go back to the receiver well here, and I'm going to take Luther Burden. I know last year we had a lot of receivers off the board in the first round. As of right now, we only have 2. I think Luther Burden is right there in the conversation with Tet as a top receiver in the class. I think he's a little bit more on the landing spot as far as production goes, opposed to Tet. Tet's going to fit in pretty much anywhere that throws the football. But I like Luther Burden. He's got a good burst. He's got great hands. And we saw it on display in one of the 2 toughest conferences in college football. So I like Luther Burden, and I'd be very comfortable taking him at 8.
Yes, and I love Luther Burden. I think he's a little more versatile than the guy I'm considering here now, the next pick, and that would be Emeka Egbuka. Egbuka is more of a straight power slot. That's where he's going to fit in the NFL. He's going to be able to play right away. He is a pro's pro. You can tell just from some tape at Ohio State. But Luther Burden has a little more electricity to his game. He's the kind of guy who, with the new NFL, you can see him moving from the slot to the outside, sort of Malik Neighbors light, so to say. Right, I can see. Yeah. He's not as talented as Malik, but at the same time, he could be somewhere between Neighbors and Zay Flowers. Right, that's kind of where I'm seeing him at.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a little bigger than Zay, as far as a body type, so I can see him succeed in the slot a little better than Zay has. Not that Zay's been bad; it's just kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's the situation, maybe not with Zay. But the ceiling, I think, is possibly a little bit higher with Burden, I guess.
Oh, come on,
so I really like Burden. there's a lot of teams he could fit in. As I said, he can play the slot or the outside. So he's very versatile. But I am going to go with, I'm just going to take Ibuka.
Yeah.
I see it as this is more of a safe pick, I guess.
I think it's a great pick, man.
But I really like this guy. He goes to like,
he reminds me of
JSN.
Yeah,
that's a great comp. I know they went to the same school, so it could be looked at as being lazy, but the reality is the dude has been there every year. He's been at Ohio State. He's been looked at as a very solid performer. He had a couple of injury issues 2 years ago, so he has struggled to stay on the field, but when he's been on the field, like, he's been super reliable, and I see that'll translate well over to the NFL. I think he'll go somewhere in the 20s, meaning that he'll get onto a good roster, probably have a good quarterback. Houston is one ideal landing spot. I mean, he'd get CJ Stroud, his college quarterback, and he'd have Nico Collins taking a lot of coverage off of him. So I could see a lot of good success. I've comped him to Chris Godwin before because he's very similar, and that would be a pretty similar role there in Houston for him. He could go to, he could even go to the Chargers, and I know Ladd plays in the slot, but they could figure it out there. He could go to Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, he'd even be in line for probably more targets than Pickens. So lots of opportunity there for Ibuka, and I like his profile. So there you go. It's back to you, Matt, now at pick 10.
All right. Give me Caleb Johnson, baby.
All right. Your guy.
I kind of wanted to fire off at the 8th pick, but, I felt like he would fall another pick for me to take him there. So I did. I love some Caleb Johnson. Very impressed. We've talked about him quite a bit. So I don't think I need to sit here and rehash everything we already know about Caleb Johnson. But I will say this. At the 110 spot, if I'm landing Caleb Johnson there, I'm probably not trading that pick. If he's on the board, probably going to fire that one really quick. Now, that being said, unless I get just an offer I can't say no to, right? But chances are I'm not going to get that offer at the 110. So I would be so happy if Caleb fell to me at the 110, because I would say in a lot of my dynasty rosters, he's probably going to jump into the starting lineup early in the season. So,
yeah, depending on the team he lands to, I honestly feel whoever drafts him is looking at, throwing him in there right away as their first and second down banger. He's been knocked a little for his receiving game, but that happens to a lot of running backs. I mean, people are knocking Genty for his receiving game, and the dude caught 49 passes 2 years ago. So it's just
because you have guys like Brashard Smith that come in now as running backs who were former receivers who look like receivers playing running back. So,
right.
They're not asked to catch the ball a ton. They're asked to run the ball a ton, and if they do that very well, I like them.
But looking at the selection tier-wise, I love it because it is Caleb's the last of the top 5 running backs, and so if you wanted to get one of the better running backs before you fall down a tier, this is the pick to make. At quarterback, there's still, now with Jaxson Dart moving up, there's 2 guys now, and we're still sitting on Colston Loveland as well. So this makes this one interesting. Now, we're not drafting as though we're one team here. We're going as though, I'm drafting for 6 different teams and Matt's drafting for 6 different teams. Otherwise, it'd be pretty easy for me, because if I was at this spot and Matt had 1 pick and then I was picking again and I'm the same team, well, I would just take Loveland here, let Matt take the quarterback that he likes, and then I'd get the other quarterback. That's how I'd look at it. But because we're not doing it that way, I am going to go ahead and take the guy that neither of us wants, the loudmouth, Shedeur Sanders, because the NFL still will pick this guy in the top 10. I don't know where it's going to be. If he ends up with the Raiders or the Jets or somebody else, he's going to get taken in the top 10. And that presents opportunity to score points. And that's what I'm in the game of, is scoring points for my fantasy team. And so Shedeur Sanders be the pick here. He can't fall out of the first round.
I mean, I guess it just depends on how much you dislike him, whether or not he's going to fall out of the first round.
Right.
No, I mean, for the second quarterback in a super flex to go at 11s after last year, it's kind of shocking. I think we saw like 4 or 5 once we included our compensatory picks to the first in one of our leagues.
Yeah, depending on where Bo Nix landed in your league. Some leagues he slipped to the beginning of the second round, but I was trying to get him by like pick 10. I mean, there was a clear top 8, and then for me it was Brian Thomas and then Bo Nix. That's how I had like my top 10. It's easy to say that now because Brian Thomas and Bo Nix both did well, but
yes,
there were people taking Jonathan Brooks up in that range. There was people taking Xavier Worthy up in that range, and I wasn't having any of that. I stuck to it. Goes back to sticking to your rankings that you have and not letting landing spot do too much to adjust that for you. Because I clearly, Brian Thomas I saw as my wide receiver 4, and so that's where I stuck with my guns there. And that's where I'm kind of sticking with Shedeur Sanders here as well. Just going process, taking Shedeur.
Yeah. Fair enough. Here at the 12th spot, man, this is a tough pick. This is a really, really tough pick because you're right on the edge of right on the edge of the first round here, going into the second. I'm between and I don't think this is off base much, between Jaxson Dart and Loveland and Trey Harris. Believe it or not, those are the 3 guys I'd be looking at here. Trey Harris, I feel I could get in a few picks if that was the case. Let's say I had the 202 or 203, probably could pick him up there. So I'm not going to waste the cap on that. I personally like several more tight ends, but Jaxson Dart, after Jaxson Dart, there are no quarterbacks that I'm in love with or that I would want to say, hey, I want this guy even if we're waiting a year. No, I'm going to take Jaxson Dart here at the 12th spot. And it's simply because I know I can get another tight end or 2 if I couldn't get him at the 201. And then I also know I can get a receiver and next running back in the second round as well. So, but there's no other quarterback that is worthy of this high of draft capital, I guess is my point. So it's really just a matter of the value there. And I think Jaxson Dart's going to hold the most value of whatever I'm picking at that spot. So.
Yeah, that's a great point you made, especially in this situation where a lot of us will probably find ourselves, especially if you won your league last year, right? Or were a runner-up, you're going to be at the back end of the first, okay? And so do you go tight end, where you could have taken Loveland here, or do you go quarterback? And the fact is that Jaxson Dart right now has probably moved himself up into the, I guess I can't see him sliding past Pittsburgh at pick 21 right now. So he's going to get an opportunity, whether it's week 1 or week 5, he's going to be playing and scoring points. Jalen Milroe and the rest of the quarterbacks on down, there's no guarantee for those guys. Meanwhile, at tight end, yeah, you could take Loveland here, but Arroyo, Mason Taylor, Fannin, those dudes, they're going to be playing. They're going to score points. So if one of those guys pops and you hit on them with a late second round pick, let's say you have the 112 and the 212, right? Then you could have 2 hits. instead of just taking Loveland and then a quarterback that might ride your bench the whole season. So
for the whole career.
A great strategy and a great point that you bring to the table there, Matt.
Yeah.
All right. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll take Loveland now. He's the last guy for me in what I could call, if you really zoom out on the whole draft, a mass tier here from 102 to 201 in that, Loveland and Warren are very close in possible productivity and where they're rated. Right now, either of them actually could be the top tight end taken in the draft. Again, I think, and why I took Warren where I did, I think Warren will do more or has a higher ceiling at the NFL level. But Loveland's no slouch either. You can't look at his stats as much because they just don't throw as much at Michigan. But he still was able to catch the ball, get in the end zone, and, of course, he's a great blocker. And so he'll be on the field right away for whatever team does end up lucky enough to grab him. So now we get to the interesting part. It's the beginning of the next tier, so to speak. And so who do you see leading the way, Matt?
Okay. So there's something I forgot to mention here because he hasn't really been spoken about. And, he's kind of an interesting player. This is not my pick, by the way. But Travis Hunter, right? If your league, I know that's not what this is set up, but if your league does have IDPs in it, Travis Hunter would be a top 3 pick.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially depending on the scoring because of everything he'll be able to do for you. That being said, I am going to take a wide receiver here. I'm sticking with my ranking and my eyes. And I'm going to take Trey Harris here. I told you I could take him in the next round. So I'm just going to go ahead and take him here. I think Trey Harris, as far as grading goes, this is close to where I think he should. I know some people are going to have Golden and Bond and maybe another dude up ahead of him, but the dude is a dominant receiver. Watch his tape. I don't know what his dominator rating is, but just watch his tape and watch how he dominates DBs in his routes. Watch the angles that he takes that create the opening for his quarterback. So there's little things like that. I think he's going to be a fantastic NFL receiver.
Yeah, I know this could be considered a lazy take because they both went to the same school, but I see a lot of A.J. Brown and Trey Harris. He has that ability to fight the DBs, and he's just stronger than them. And he gets open. Like, he can do the slant route that A.J. Brown is just phenomenal at. And he's able to make the contested catches. He's still able to create space, so he's not always having to make contested catches. But, Trey Harris is one who really here at the beginning of the second round, you could get a home run out of, and he could be the top wide receiver in this class.
I love his build too, man. He's 6'2", 205 pounds. I know his 40 wasn't awesome, but let's see, his vertical was 38.5 and his broad was 10.5. That's pretty explosive for a 6'2" receiver, man. I think he's a great grab early in the second. Yep, I'd be happy to pull the trigger at the 202.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so I'm back on the clock here at the 203, and I'm looking at the wide receivers here because the next tier of running backs I want to wait on. I don't want to jump the gun at running back.
Dude.
And so I think where I'm going to go is the combine 40-yard dash winner, at least, in Matthew Golden. Golden's somebody who's definitely risen his stock, especially past his teammate Isaiah Bond, but came on late in the season for Texas. Second half of the season, he dominated when it mattered most. His route running is improved. So he's somebody, I think the draft capital is going to end up speaking for itself. He's pretty much moved himself up into the first round conversation for sure. Some people as high as Dallas. Now, I keep using Dallas because, of course, that's what we see. The media talks about Dallas and who they're going to pick all the time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're going to take him. The fact is that the NFL values wide receivers more so than the running backs, right? And so even in this stacked running back class that we have, and one where we've taken 5 out of our first 10 fantasy picks here were running backs, I wouldn't doubt that there's more wide receivers taken in the first round of the NFL draft than running backs. So I think I'm going to take a guy who I think will be a first round wide receiver in Matthew Golden here.
Okay. Good grab. He's fast, that's for sure. So that puts me right back on the clock here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do my homework here right before I fire off this pick. Oh man, the 204. Okay, so for me, I'm actually looking at a tight end here. I'm looking at Harold Fannin Jr. And then this one's fun. I'm also looking at Tootin. That's a tough one. That's a real tough one for me because I feel value-wise will be closer in value. Am I missing something here, dude?
No, I mean, this is the area where it's pick your favorite running back, or there's a few solid wide receivers left, right? There's 3 or 4 good wide receivers.
Yeah,
but then
it's too early.
And then tight end, I don't know how these are going to play out. You know, you got Arroyo, Fannin, and Taylor really in a tier, I would say. It's definitely one where I'd be considering trading back.
Yeah.
But,
actually, I just like 3 picks down the road here to the 2-7-ish, a little bit better. So yeah, give me Tootin. That could be a nice little surprise value there. So I'm not going to be scared this year to pull the trigger on a guy who's drafted into an RBC. We saw success from that last year anyway. So yeah, give me Tootin. Especially in best ball, because he hit a home run for you one week or every other week. So give him to me.
You had to do it to me. You had to take my guy. Man.
I know, and you're probably going to take one of mine. So that's,
that's how it goes here, though. All right. So at this point here, this is a team that took Cam Ward in the first round, right? Mm-hmm. So needing a quarterback, then this is an opportunity to sort of take that home run swing, so to speak, and that's what I'm going to do here. Swing big and take Travis Hunter.
Ooh.
We all know he went to the combine as a cornerback, but I see the possibility of him playing more wide receiver than we all think right now. It's still out there. I don't know that it'll happen, but I think somewhere in the second round is the time to take your shot on Travis Hunter. And as long as you've got a few draft picks after this, where I'm thinking here, you get so actually, this isn't the team that took Cam Ward. So sorry, that analogy, that narrative was gone. But point being is that this is an opportunity to take a wide receiver that could be the top wide receiver in this class if he does play wide receiver. And I love the running backs in the 3rd and 4th rounds. Don't love the wide receivers there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Hunter here. All right. Back to you at the 206 now, Matt.
Yeah, give me Harold Fannin Jr., baby.
All right.
So you get an idea, like if I had every other pick, like you get an idea. If I'm thinking about guys, the chances are I can get them a couple picks later. I'll do it. So I love Harold Fannin. I know, the 40 times weren't there, but man, he's explosive. I think he's super athletic, and he is he's going to block, which is going to get him on the field more. So I think he is a great tight end. I'm getting him in the middle of the second, which is about where I would have pulled the trigger last year for a tight end. So I like where he is coming off here. Yeah.
All right. So now we get to spot here. So this guy took Tyler Warren first round. I'm looking wide receiver, and I like this guy. I know you liked him too heading into the combine, and that's Jaylen Noel, combine warrior.
Oh,
I like his opportunity on any team that he gets drafted on to, potentially have like an Amon-Ra St. Brown type deal where he slides in the draft here. He's going to get taken in the second, third round of the NFL draft. Not looked at as a first rounder, but yet, even though all of the measurables that he showed at the combine would say that he should be, like he should be ahead of probably Matthew Golden with those numbers, even though the 40 time Golden won. I think everywhere else, Noel looks better. So I don't know. I think middle of the second round is a great spot to grab Jaylen Noel right now.
Yeah. You son of a gun.
Nah.
Got me there. Okay. I love the pick. Like you said, everything you said about him times two. It's yeah. Now I don't know what to do. So, well, this is like you said, this isn't the most fun spot. But knowing that Luther Burden's gone to this team in the first round, I'm going to diversify positionally what they're drafting here. And I'm going to take Scadaboo with this pick. All he had to do was not fall flat on his face at the combine, and I think he didn't do that. So I think he's underrated as a running back. I know he's gotten some more hype as we've gotten closer to the draft, but I think he's going to be shockingly good. Maybe not somebody that's going to jump on the field and start producing immediately, at least from the running back position. Maybe he does some special team stuff, but he is a guy that's eventually going to earn himself a snap share, and what he does with that will remain to be seen. But I like the guy. I think he's going to work his way into playtime.
Yeah, he's going to be a guy that coaches are going to find hard to just keep off the field,
right?
Ultimately, and yeah, he'll get his opportunity at some point to show what he did like last year. Great athlete. I mean, I know he didn't run the 40, but everything else he did at the combine was great. I mean, his vertical was much higher than I would have thought. I think he hit 40. And so it might have been 39 inches. But either way, the dude has done more with what he has than any other player in college football last year. And I think that's going to translate well. You said playing special teams, he may start out on special teams, sure, but he might not. I mean, he might win a job outright and be the first second down back right away.
But, I mean, look at this dude. Look at this. He's 5'9" and a half, 219.
Yeah.
That's ideal running back stuff, right? And then his vertical and his broad, you mentioned 39 and a half on the vertical. Pretty darn good for somebody who's 5'9". Excuse me, five and change. And then his broad
pretty sure he can dunk.
10-3. Do what now?
I said I'm pretty sure he can dunk.
Yeah. He's the dude's explosive, I guess is the point.
Come on.
Right? He's very explosive.
All right. So now it's on me, and I'm going to jump on a guy who I have been high on fantasy-wise, not so much as a real NFL quarterback. That's Jalen Milroe. I think Milroe is a guy who could go early second round to one of those teams that doesn't take a quarterback in the first round, but then he sits and waits a few weeks and then gets his opportunity. I see him scoring points rookie season. Maybe he's got to wait like Jalen Hurts did his rookie season. Hurts didn't play until the last month, but then we all saw what he could do. And he wasn't great throwing the ball right away, but he was putting up fantasy points like crazy that rookie season in December. And Milrow's got that. We know. It just depends on how well he develops as a thrower of the football. And that'll come down to the team specific. What team does he ultimately land on, and how quickly he gets that opportunity. But I'll take the dart on Jalen Milrow right here, because I know you mentioned the top 3 quarterbacks. I see Milrow kind of in his own tier right now as the one guy who could shine even his rookie season, but he's got a step above the Will Howards and Dylan Gabriels of the world. I think Milrow is in his own kind of tier right here, and so this is a good spot to grab him.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard for me to stamp on him, but you're absolutely right. His legs give him a floor. So if he gets on that field, at the very least, you're going to get the production you need from a quarterback too.
Yeah.
My pick here, again, in kind of the spirit of keeping these teams slightly diversified, I'm going to go with Beach. I'm going to go with Jack Beach here. He had a great combine. He is versatile from a position standpoint, which gives him more knowledge of all the routes and where he's supposed to be, because should give him good field awareness. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Jack Beach here. I could do a lot worse at the end of the second round, put it that
way. For sure. All right. So now I'm back up at the 211, took Shedeur Sanders with the first pick. And, now we're getting to where I got to start making some choices on running backs here. I do like a couple receivers yet, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Devin Neal. I think he's someone who didn't do amazing at the combine, but at the same time didn't really hurt himself either. And that's from the get-go. When I first watched any tape on this guy, he looked like David Montgomery to me, just a boring running back, but scores points. Like David Montgomery, say what you will about having any flash, like the dude's, whether it was in Chicago and now in Detroit, even with Jahmyr Gibbs there, he still found his way into the end zone tons of times. And, Devin Neal is a type of guy who he could go to many teams and be their first or second down back.
Yeah.
So I like Devin Neal here.
No, that's a good call. You're right. He didn't hurt himself. He didn't help himself at the combine, which the not helping himself is going to cause him to slip back a little bit, which can do nothing but help us, right? We can get him much later than expected, which we like. Now, the reverse of that is true for my pick in Brashard Smith here at the 212. I was hoping to score this dude in like the middle of the third, but then the combine happened, and now here I am protecting my interest and taking him at the 212. So super fast guy. I think we saw what happened with Tyrone Tracy last year. That could be the same game script for Brashard Smith as well.
Yeah, I don't mind the pick at all. I've seen some mocks post combine, even him still sliding to the fourth, and I thought that was great value. But when you're talking upside, Brashard Smith possesses that more so than a guy like I just took in Devin Neal. Brashard Smith has that, I don't want to say elite upside, but just the receiving ability gives him that extra level of a way to score points. And then, an injury happens and boom, the guy's getting all the touches. So yeah, great pick there, I think. Okay. So now we're back to the top of the third round here, and very loaded at running back, of course, but I'm going to, See, we took Loveland with his first pick, so I'll wait on tight end. Receiver, I'm going to take the guy that I like, and that's Jaylen Royals. This is a dude who you watch his film and you can tell he is NFL ready. Even, I mean, he's the best player on the field. He played at Utah State. So, but this isn't the time to start helmet scouting and downgrading guys because they play at small schools. Okay. Mm-hmm. We've seen guys at the Senior Bowl now. We've seen guys at the Combine. They are going up against the best, and Jaylen Royals still did very well in both places. And I think he's got that, you know, I hated Steve Smith as a player, but that's because he played so hard, and he was, you know, he was the guy you love to have on your team, but hate to be playing against. And that's the kind of dude Jaylen Royals is. And so, yeah, I'm all over him right here at the beginning of the third, if he isn't gone by the end of the second round.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is fun. So this one's actually under my name. I would love to have both of these receivers.
Nice wide receivers, that's for sure.
That being said, in this spot, I'm going to take kind of I don't even know where he is on the players. On
what position?
Here, but I'm going to go with Damian Martinez, running back out of Miami.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay, great. I don't know, man. He's not going to blow you off the page with athleticism, but his build is good. He's 6 feet, almost 220. So I like that part of it. His 40 time wasn't over. 4.51. It's not bad. His split was 1.5 seconds. Vertical was 35. That one throws me off a little bit, but his broad jump was pretty good at 10.4. So he just, when I watched him on film, he just kind of looks like that 1-2 guy, right? I'm going to come in. I'm going to do short yards on the goal line. He's your wrecking ball. Is kind of how I see it. So
I saw a comp to him. It was Brian Robinson.
Brian Robinson. There you go. That's not bad.
You're going to get production out of the guy. He's going to be the goal line back, like you mentioned. The Steelers could grab him in like the 4th round and have him opposite Jaylen Warren, and he'd get plenty of production. Then that's ultimately what we're looking for in fantasy, right? It's production, and that's what we're going to get out of a lot of these backs. He's pretty similar to Devin Neal in that regard too. But these are dudes that are, you know, last year we had a lot of smaller running backs or whatever, and we had to sort of squint to see the opportunity kind of to tell the story, right? Not these guys. Damian Martinez is an NFL player. He's going to be playing at the next level and get his opportunity. And I don't care if it's in the 4th or even 5th round. He could go on day 2. I don't know. These running backs.
I want 5'9" to 6 foot, 220 pounds. And we had maybe 1 or 2 guys last year that fit that bill. So Braylon Allen and Trey Benson. So that, come on. I'm coming. So I'm happy with the Martinez pick. I mean, is it going to materialize? I don't know. But I heard someone said that he runs with concrete in his pads. So I'm pretty sure a guy like that's going to score a couple of touchdowns, or at least have the opportunity to. So, even if he's like a Mike Tolbert and he just comes in to carry the rock across the goal line, he does that twice. I mean, that's 12 points.
Exactly.
So,
all right. So I know I mentioned tight end before, but I'm going to go back to the running back well here and grab a dude who's opposite of Damian Martinez, and that's Dylan Sampson. He stepped his game up the last year or 2 at Tennessee, and he played opposite of Jaylen Wright, basically with Tennessee. And man, that was a scary offense, the speed there, because Dylan Sampson can fly. He had like 18 touchdowns last year. So he was kind of the grinder, and he was the 3-down back for Tennessee last year. So he showed that he can do that. I don't know that the NFL team that drafts him will ask him to have to do that. I doubt it. But regardless, he's got the goods, the tools to be able to play at the next level. And I love the speed there from Dylan Sampson. So it's where I'm going right here.
Yeah, he's a little guy, 5'8", 200 pounds. So he's little, but
still 200 pounds.
Anything. Little guys still play running back very well. They're hard to see, and they're hard to tackle, right? So good pick there. Good pick there. All right, so team 4 here, we went Cam Ward, and then we went Peyton. Probably going to go ahead and take Mason Taylor here.
Good pick.
I feel early 3rd round. Maybe it's a little early, but I just think there's good upside. He's got good genetics, and so he's got the NFL pedigree already in his name. He's played at a top program, and I don't know. I don't see it as a bad pick here. A lot of people haven't.
No, not at all.
Fannin, so
I think by the time the draft rolls around, you could see those 2 picks flipped, Fannin and Taylor. Honestly, because I think Taylor's moved himself up into the 2nd round, like early 2nd round, even late 1st. They're saying. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, for a tight end, he tracks the ball well, and he adjusts well to off-target passes. Is, I guess, the big highlight I have for him is he adjusts very well for a tight end, especially being that big.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump on the last tight end then in the little mini tier, and that's Elijah Arroyo. This dude tore it up at the Senior Bowl, did well at the Combine. He can run routes very well, so linebackers will have a very tough time trying to cover him. And that's Elijah Arroyo from Miami. I love the guy, and to grab him here at the 305 just speaks to the depth of this class, really. Because we could say this for the next 10 guys, probably, man, I can't believe I'm getting him here in the 3rd or 4th round. So this class is super talented. And yeah, I think Arroyo is another dude who's going to get taken on day 2. So he's going to have solid draft capital, and the team that gets him is going to be trying to get him out on the field right away. So yeah, I'm going that out there. Back to you at the 306, Matt.
Yeah, so it's kind of shocking this dude's still on the board at this point, but with all the running backs and the not the performance he needed at the Combine, I'm going to go with Isaiah Bond here. Slipping into the middle of the 3rd round, I think, is insane value for that dude. Insane value. He's still a good receiver. He just wasn't as fast on Saturday as he felt, or as he said he would be, right? That's it. Still fast.
Yes. He's still fast.
Yeah.
Yes. And he got overshadowed in the bigger spotlight by his teammate Matthew Golden, and so now he's slipped. But yeah, what that means is now a team is going to land him probably on day 2 of the NFL draft, and he's going to get his opportunity, because we all know 2nd, 3rd round wide receivers, they usually get on the field and get their opportunity. So I think, a 3rd round flyer on a dude like Isaiah Bond that has more talent than your general 3rd round wide receiver, I think it's a great pick. Yeah. I'm going to go to a guy I haven't really been that high on, and it's back at wide receiver as well, and that's Lemke and Matt. I've seen him mocked as high as a round earlier than this. So there's certain guys I watch that are all over him, so I'm more taking this as a process pick, as he's fallen here, and so I think he should have been taken probably earlier, but we grabbed some guys that we liked. And so Lemke and Matt, big target, out of Stanford. He's going to come in and he's going to be a dude that might be pro ready right away. Sort of an Alan Lazard type, I guess, is what I envision with him. So yeah, I'll take Aya Maynard here and move on. Yes.
All right. Actually, Alan Lazard got permission to seek a trade partner today, I think. So.
Yeah, but he just got to follow Rodgers wherever he goes.
Yeah.
It might be just across the locker room over to the Giants from what I hear lately.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see with Rodgers. That's a whole other show on itself.
Yeah. Okay, here. So with the 308, I'm going to take Dylan Gabriel. Got it. Burden and Scatterboo with the first 2 picks here. I think the mention and thought that Gabriel could end up with the Dolphins. I mean, win his 2 and not miss games, right?
Yes.
Plus, I like this guy. He plays bigger than he is and spins the ball decently well. In fact, I was most impressed with his performance in a game that they got destroyed by Ohio State because of the composure he kept. I think they were down like 3 touchdowns, and he just put the chin strap on, made some great throws, drove the team down and scored a touchdown. Now, they weren't able to do a whole lot in that game. Ohio State owned them. But his composure in that game wasn't rattled, wasn't like visually upset or anything. It was a refreshing sight to see out of a collegiate quarterback. So we all get to watch their highlights and stuff, but when you watch them get their butts kicked and how they hold themselves, I was really impressed with that. And I think there's a place for that on my roster, especially if he's up in Miami. He's gonna play.
Right. That's something that speaks volumes, or it should at least, to scouts, like how well a guy performs in that kind of adversity on a big stage in a game against Ohio State where he's getting his ass kicked. How is he holding it together, right? Because we all know in the NFL, these teams, these kids are used to going 12-1 or 11-2, right? And just dominating. They've come from a high school where they probably never even lost a game in their high school career, right? And now all of a sudden they're in the NFL where they're getting punched in the mouth right away, and they're on a 5-12 team. Well, how do you handle that, right? So, and Miami's a team that's right in, they're in the middle of the pack of the NFL landscape. And so, as you said, we're just drawing hypotheticals here, going to Miami. I could even see somebody like Pete Carroll taking him, right? Mm-hmm. And then he's got to lead the Raiders, and the Raiders are behind the 8 ball right now. So who knows? But yeah, Dylan Gabriel, much better than his height would suggest at the quarterback position. All right, so this team here, I've gone Egbuka and Jalen Milroe so far. So we are down to, let's see. Look at the running backs here. I'm going to go DJ Giddens. Giddens had a solid combine. I've seen him move up the boards. He's out of Kansas State. Mm-hmm. Quick back, can catch the ball. He's just another body at the running back position that's there and is talented. And this just, again, is speaking to the depth of this class. A guy like DJ Giddens, who in another mock could go around earlier. And so that's where I'm going to go with DJ Giddens in this particular draft.
No.
So,
this is kind of starting to stretch where I'm at in my research, right? So, I'm going to take Jordan James here, running back out of Oregon.
Solid guy, yes.
Yeah. I'm not overly blown away with the combine numbers, but again, watching what I saw him do in action this year on the field, with other players chasing him and trying to tackle him, I was pretty impressed with what I saw. So I don't think we need a ton of explanation here. I'm absolutely throwing a dart at this dude.
Yeah, no, he's a solid
pretty
player.
much it. It's just an educated dart throw.
Right. And him to say, so he played with Bucky Irving in the same backfield at Oregon 2 years ago. And he was in a 50-50 role with Bucky Irving, who obviously just blew everybody out of the water last year's rookie season. Nobody saw that coming. And so, yeah, Jordan James sort of in the mold of the Devin Neal and Damian Martinez picks. He's going to be a solid running back, I think, for whichever NFL team does grab him. Okay, so we're going down the running back road here. I'm going to grab Ollie Gordon here. Ollie Gordon is someone who's very polarizing at this point with the 4.6 40 and all that nonsense. I think this is more of a home run type pick and hoping we get the 2023 version of Ollie Gordon versus the 2024 version. And yeah, if I'm picking at the 311, it's potentially a team that was the runner up last year. Mm-hmm. So I think that having Devin Neal in the previous round and now Ollie Gordon, I think that's a good mix, and you could hope to hit on one of them.
Yeah.
All right. So now
I'd love to see the 23 version of Ollie Gordon as opposed to this past year in Combine. So
yes. So now you got your Jaxson Dart and Brashard Smith team here. This is looking like a Matt English team.
Oh man. Well, I got two players that I really like here, that 12 spot. Here's a dart throw for you. It gets into what I like from this draft class of receivers. 6'2", 200 pounds. Kid Nick Nash out of San Jose State.
All right.
So I'm going to get myself a small school receiver here, and he's going to be all pro in 3 years.
There you go. No, he is somebody that
he's not like super fast. I mean, it's nothing crazy. I know he's got decent hands, but I don't know. I'm picking San Jose State here. That's what's happening.
No, he did have a highlight catch at the Senior Bowl, and yeah, he is one of the under the radar wide receivers there that could slide into the third round-ish in the NFL draft. So, and then get his opportunity. Just fight for his opportunity, right? Okay, so I'm back to the top of the board here. I've gone every position except quarterback with this squad.
We're doing
let's see here. Where do I want to go here? So this is somebody I think we probably slept on here a little, and that's Jaden Higgins, big-bodied wide receiver. Probably should have been taken earlier, but anyway, he wasn't. And so I'll take this sleeper in Jaden Higgins. He had a good combine. Some RAS scores had him like top 5 or 6 from the combine. So I'll grab Jaylen Noel's teammate, Jaden Higgins here. Yeah.
I can't believe I missed him. I cannot believe I missed that.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason when you took Giddens, I was thinking Giddens. So that's my own fault, but
it's all right. We're still getting used to these names, and that's why we go 4 rounds deep here, because we want to know these guys' names so we're recognizing it. We're using Sleeper here, and they of course just their ADP is based off of what we do here. So some of these guys weren't as highly regarded. And so yeah, you can go up.
Anyway.
Why don't you
I gotta take a pick here.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
Oh man, this is kind of a tough spot here in the 4th because I like all 3 picks here out of the 2 slot. But I'm going to take a dart here. Give me Quinn Ewers. I'm pretty sure he's going to be holding a clipboard for a couple of years because he doesn't have a super strong arm, but he played on the number 2 team in the country and is used to operating in a fast-paced offense. I mean, he was asked to do a lot, so even the shortcoming of a less than ideal arm, he still can make throws. It's just he can't make all of the throws, right? So doesn't mean he's dead in the water. It's just he's not Jaxson Dart and he's not Cam Ward. But you don't always have to have the strongest arm to be a good quarterback. So hopefully he lands in a good situation, develops correctly, and turns into something that can be utilized in fantasy.
Yeah. No, Ewers, I think, is a solid pick here. I like taking quarterbacks in this range to sort of fill out my roster, especially quarterbacks that I know have a real good shot at being the number 2 quarterback on their team, because of the value it presents in Superflex. So if you're looking at your rosters and, I just took Jaden Higgins, but that's because I think he kind of fell. I look at taking a backup quarterback as a little more value than opposed to, say, a wide receiver who's going to be, like Johnny Wilson from last year, right? They're the 4th or 5th wide receiver on their team. Because when they do get the opportunity, even if it's just for a week or two, they're going to be somebody that in a super flex league, you can easily just plug into your lineup and get double-digit points just from an average game. If he goes out there and throws for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick in 2 games for you, that's super valuable, as opposed to a wide receiver that's buried on the depth chart and doesn't ever see your lineup. So that's where I see the benefit in going after quarterbacks that can be backup quarterbacks in the NFL. So, and that's where we're at, quarterbacks.
You could trade him. If he does see the field as a decent week, trade him.
Yes, right. That is another good point, too, because you can move your 4th round pick here. And even if you're just grabbing a 3rd rounder in the future, that is more valuable in the long run. So that's how you build winning franchises in Dynasty. Absolutely. Great point there. So with that said, I'm eyeing up Will Howard here, who had a terrible combine. But if even Shedeur Sanders comes out and says, don't punish the guy for it, man, I got to think about that. But I'm going to lean on the running back position here. I'm going to go RJ Harvey out of Central Florida. He had a really good combine as well. I know I sound like a broken record here with the running backs. I had a really good combine, but RJ Harvey was somebody who out of Central Florida had good numbers, can catch the ball well. He's a type that easily can come in and be a good satellite back for somebody and even get his opportunity for more, possibly. So, a team like Jacksonville or New England, he could get thrown into the mix. And who knows? He's Bucky Irving, right? I thought Bucky Irving was nothing more than a satellite back myself last year. So what did I know? All right. It's the position is the key. The running back position, it just takes one injury and boom, they're in line for a ton of touches. So that's where I'm leaning RJ Harvey here. All right, back to you, Matt, now. The team that got Cam Ward, Tootin, and Mason Taylor. Good draft so far for this team. I like it.
It is. It is a good draft so far. So we're going to line up, and this is just a pick based on where I have him ranked, and I'm going to take Tez Johnson here.
Okay.
Oregon. I hear out of my picks pulling a lot of Oregon players. So
yes, they had a lot of talent last year.
Yeah, and look, this isn't like the biggest dude. Like he's 5'10", 154. He's small. Okay.
Yeah, he had a rough combine with this bad 40 time, but
yeah, it doesn't. But I think he's faster than that 40 time. Some guys play faster than what their 40 is, and I think he's
he had the number one. As opposed to that, he had the number one shuttle time.
Yes. Yeah. At 4.15. His 3-cone went bad at 6.65. His broad jump was 10.11, and his vertical was 7 inches. And for someone under 6 foot, that's not horrible at all. So there's explosion there. There's athleticism there. You know, again, I got to watch more on the guy. But from the things I've seen and watched at the combine, I was not turned off by him.
No, if you watch his highlights, I mean, he say what you want about the 40 time, but he could break away from defenders and he was gone. So that's where, again, the 40 time is just simply overrated. And so I'm going to go with one of my favorite dudes in probably the whole draft. Watch this guy play, and you just see Wes Welker oozing out of him, and that's Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. This guy's a gamer, short as well, but he weighed in. He was the first receiver to ever weigh in under 5'10" and over 205 pounds. So this dude's a rock, and he's a great slot receiver. I can see it translate well in the right situation to the NFL to get you some fantasy points. That's where I'm looking.
Yeah. So
that's why I grabbed Xavier Restrepo there. All right, we're at the 406, Matt.
Yep, sure are.
We can kind of rapid fire here. You don't have to give too much.
Yeah. So,
all right, if you got something to add on the guy.
Yeah, I'm going to dip into the back to the running backs here. I got Henderson, Fannin, Bond. I'm just going to assume this is a running back needy team based on how it picked it so far. And then I'm going to take ETN out of Georgia.
All right.
Cool. Now, he started off in Florida, finished out at Georgia. That's fine. Don't have to hate on him too much for that. But he comes from a good DNA chain, right? His brother plays in the end, or his brother. His brother plays in the NFL. We've seen this happen before with the Cook brothers, where they both are good running backs. So maybe he'll be equally as mediocre as his brother.
Hey, ETN had a good season a couple of years ago, so I don't think he's dead in the water yet. But yeah, good pick with his brother there. I'm going to go back to running back as well, and somebody who's slid. Devy guys know him well, and that's Rocket Sanders out of South Carolina. I think he's going to slide into the 4th round of a lot of rookie drafts, and he's somebody that can easily outproduce his draft capital in our rookie drafts. So, I mean, at one time he was looked at as the top running back in this running back heavy class. So I'll go ahead and take a shot on him. All right. Back to you, Matt.
All right. I'm going to go homer here. And I'm going to take Elijah Badger, wide receiver from Florida.
Oh, I don't know if he's even on here. Let me see. Let me scroll down.
He had a decent combine.
All right, he's not in here yet, Matt.
Oh, that's so messed up. Well, I tell you what, just put in Horton. Just put in the top receiver, right, and we're going to call him Elijah Badger.
Sounds good to me. All right, so you heard it here first. Elijah Badger is Matt's deep sleeper.
Yeah, we'll see if he turned into.
Now, I like the other dude from Florida, by way of Wisconsin, Chamari DK.
Yeah,
Chamari DK actually is from Waukesha, goes to Waukesha North, where my kid will be going to high school. And my kid's gone to his camp. Very nice, well-spoken individual. DK actually had one of the better combines of any of the wide receivers. He ran a 4.3 something in the 40. Tested well in the other metrics as well. He was just somebody who was kind of, I don't know how to put it, but he was stuck with Graham Mertz as his quarterback.
Yeah. And then even with Langley towards the end, the passing was still limited. So, there wasn't a lot of balls to be caught.
Yeah, DK he's an athlete. All right. Trust me. I watched him in high school playing, and it was like, that dude is on another level.
No,
You could
he's
just,
good. Yeah.
you could just see it. Yeah. So it didn't translate into being a superstar at the college level, but you never know. Guys like that may get a shot.
Yeah.
So DK is not on the list here. Otherwise, I would go ahead and grab him just for shits and giggles. But
he tested
I
well.
am gonna go with speed here and grab Jaden Blue out of Texas.
Yeah.
Another burner. We had in the last 2 years, I think they showed they've had 5 skill players now run under 4.4 in the 40.
Yeah.
Blue is one of them. Then you've got Bond and Golden from this year, and then last year we had Worthy and A.D. Mitchell. So Texas knows where it's at least teaching the form and the
sprinting
training to run the 40 fast at the combine. All right.
All right. Well, you alluded to this guy earlier in the round. So I'm going to take Will Howard.
There you go. I was eyeing him up too. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Will Howard. I think he's a great kid. I think even if he gets an opportunity, he's a game manager. But again, I look at him as a tradable asset. That if he sees the field, he probably won't look horrible. And he's someone I can trade down the line to recoup future draft capital, or something that I may need, a younger guy that's on someone's taxi squad that I'm ready to take over. I don't know, whatever it may be, but he's a guy that could give me 1 or 2 weeks of value or is a tradable asset.
All right. So sounds good. I want to take Kyle McCord, who Will Howard took over for at Ohio State. McCord's a guy who can grip it and rip it. He's a true backup quarterback, though, at the NFL level. I'm going to go with a little more upside here at tight end and go Arande Gadsden. He's a big wide receiver. I don't know if you remember his dad at playing with the Dolphins there for a few years in the late 90s, I think it was, and early 2000s maybe. But Arande, he can ball. He's 6'4", I believe. Slimmer build for a tight end, but ran real well. Tested well. Did good things at the Senior Bowl, and he's got a good chance in the right fit, to be an Isaiah Likely type tight end. So go with Gadsden there. And then, Matt, it's back to you to finish things off here with our mock draft 2.0 in the birdhouse.
Yes, I'm going to go with Dominic Lovett. I don't know if he's actually on the board. He's a wide receiver out of Georgia.
All right, let's see here.
He did pretty good at the combine. He plays in a top-tier program. He's not on there yet?
Not on there yet.
Okay. Well, that's okay. I'll tell you all about him.
All right.
He's 5'10", 185. Let's see here. He ran a 4.4 in the 40. In the 10-yard split, it was 1.5. His vertical was 33.5. That's a little underwhelming, but his broad was 10, and his 20-yard shuttle was 4.27, which isn't too bad. Either which way, I like the speed. I like his build. And like I said, he played at Georgia. So, he's going up against good defenses, and he plays in a winning system. So I like that. That bodes well for him to the next level.
Yeah. Anybody you draft out of Georgia or Alabama, was like at least a 4-star. So, or at least a 3-star recruit. But,
come on.
yes, the SEC competition, that he can play. All right, I'm just going to throw somebody in there. We'll go. I'll take Savion Williams here for you there to end this. Savion Williams is a big-bodied wide receiver out of TCU. And we'll finish it off there. Okay. So, Matt, anything interesting that you see from I can bring the board back up here. Anything that you want to note just from what we see here as far as roster construction goes, or the number of players taken at a position or runs? We didn't have too many runs of a position.
No, I think so. I kind of the first couple of rounds, it's not necessarily a roster construction mentality. I did that maybe in the third and fourth a little bit to try and balance out what was being picked under the assumption that some guys are going to fill needs, which I don't know is the greatest thing to do in a draft. But I was taking what I perceived to be the best and most valuable assets for the first 24 picks. Whatever has the absolute most value, that's what I want if I'm taking the pick, right? And if it's between two guys that are about the same value, then I'm taking who I think is the better player. You know what I'm saying? So it's not too many trends or that's not the word, runs. So not too many runs here to speak of. I mean, we're highly peppered with the running backs. You can see the green all over the board. And the receivers, I mean, it's almost crazy how it's a big fall off this year. That being said, I still think there's a high number of receivers that got taken. I was shocked at how many quarterbacks we ended up firing off here in the first 4 rounds, but goes to show you that there's a place for some of these guys. And then the tight ends, that was I only seen 3 go in the first 2 rounds was a little shocking. It just didn't work out to take them before they got taken. So I don't know, man. I don't think there's anything I noticed that it was out of the ordinary. It just looks like appropriated value picks through the first and second, and then in the third and fourth, we're trying to fill out needs for what's been drafted on the first and 2. I mean, that's no real runs or anything that's overly shocking. I mean, like I said, as many quarterbacks went off was a little bit shocking.
I think what I saw is, especially when it got to rounds 3 and 4, and when you talk about the depth of this class with running backs, consider, depending on your roster, that there's still going to be some undrafted free agents you can scoop up, and the most value there is probably going to be at the running back position. So you still got a couple of running backs here that we didn't take in Woody Marks, Donovan Edwards, he tested well, Corey Kiner, Jaquindon Jackson, Jarquez Hunter. All these guys are players who in the real NFL draft will get drafted. So as opposed to previous years where, we're scouring the waivers after the draft and we're picking up dudes that were actually undrafted free agents in the NFL draft. I think this year we're going to have running backs available that actually got taken in the NFL draft that are sitting there on waivers. So depending on how your team build is, and if you were able to sort of, get rid of the fluff, so to speak, on your roster and when you're trying to get a youth movement on your team, especially this year, like with the running back position. I mean, it's hard to deal some of these running backs, these veteran running backs right now, 1-for-1. Like if you want to trade, I don't know, James Conner, right? James Conner for a second. Well, some people are just kind of like, I'd rather have that second right now because I'd rather grab a rookie running back. I'd rather have Brashard Smith or Devin Neal or Cam Scadaboo or Tootin, right? So that's where it's going to be hard. And to that point, if you're trying to deal some veteran running backs now, your best bet actually might be to just try and hide them on the back side of a deal if you want to get true value for them. So you're not giving up a running back that should be worth a second, but your league will only give you a third for them. James Conner I'm bringing him up because he's a good example. He's older, but still productive, yet nobody wants to give up anything for him, straight up.
Yeah.
If you add him to a deal, like you're dealing a bigger wide receiver or whatever, and then you throw James Conner in, then you're going to maybe get full value for him. You know, and I hate to say using a calculator, but yeah, we're trying to even out trades or whatever. People are going to be more willing to take on James Conner then in that case, because they're maybe more focused player eccentric and not as much on the draft picks then as well. So
Yeah.
that's one way to sort of trim your roster down if you've got 3 or 4 James Conner types on your team, right? You've got James Conner, David Montgomery, Najee Harris, all these older guys, these guys that you don't want 4 or 5 of, right? Because this is a monster draft at that position. And much like the 2017 class, these guys lasted forever, right? So I'm saying going forward in the next 2 to 3 years, we're not going to have a class like this at the running back position. So these dudes like Jaden Blue, Rocket Sanders, Trevor Etienne, RJ Harvey, those guys, they're still going to be in the league, okay? And they may be better than what next year's class offers in the second round at the running back position. So keep that in mind. Yeah. I'm not saying all of them will, but a majority of these guys will, because the numbers don't lie. Like when you have combine numbers like these guys have, and the production level and the size and the weight that these guys all have, those are all factors into how long their careers last, right? So even if you're not necessarily ready to contend this year, this is still a year to go out and get a few of these running backs, because they're going to stick in the league for a while, and you're not going to have the opportunity to grab these kind of backs in rounds 3 and 4 in the future years. So I don't know. That's my thought on the running backs right now. And I don't know if you've got any other final thoughts, Matt, before we head out.
No, but I think you hit it right. You do need to stack up running backs this year, because we don't know when we're going to have a class like this. Last year was the year to stack up. If you were going to do it on quarterbacks or receivers, this year you can grab a couple of running backs that can help anchor your team for the next 3 to 5 years. So that's a big one. And almost, I mean, if you're thinking about tiebreakers, if you're in between players, I mean, I would just lean running back with that in mind. If I'm between, let's say, like Trey Harris and Tootin, maybe I should take Tootin, just because I don't know. Receivers come along every year, but good running backs don't. So, yeah, I agree with your sentiment in take advantage of this year's class and get you a couple of RBs. Yep.
Yeah, just to speak on Tootin, for instance, his combine numbers and everything matched up with Devon Achan's. Okay.
And actually, you know what's funny?
At 20 pounds heavier.
2 years ago, I'm pretty sure in one of our leagues, Achan went at like the 2.4. I could almost go back and look at the data. I'm pretty darn sure he did. So.
But he was also going in the first round too in some leagues. So, and I don't think Tootin has moved up that far yet, but I don't have a problem with him going at the 2.4. Okay.
No,
I think anybody would have been happy to grab Achan at the 2.04. So just a little perspective there on Tootin. And I mean, there's going to be people who would argue the 2.04 is way too high for Tootin. He should just go in the 3rd. He shouldn't move up too far. But that's where we're going to be playing this out for the next month and a half. These running backs 6 through 20, they're going to shift around a little, and we're going to see some movement. And we'll find out more about these guys. But for now, we're just going to play around with his boards and see where the guys are. And there'll be some tiers that will develop amongst them. But we want to thank you guys out there for joining us today. This was a fun experiment post-combine to see where the hype has gotten us. And then maybe in a couple weeks, we'll see some of these guys that have been hyped up settle down a little, but some of them, that hype will stay and stick. And trust me, even the NFL guys buy into the hype too much sometimes, right? There's always those Darius Hayward Bays out there.
That's it. Or the Jamarcus Russells.
Oh, God. No. All right. So, again, for Matt English, I want to thank you for joining us in the Birdhouse. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. We will have a mock draft coming up in a few weeks in the Birdhouse with Shane Manila from Shane Says, Mannequin Chill, and the DD Fantasy Network, as well as John Bauer from Dynasty Theory, also from the DD Fantasy Network. Thanks again for joining us. And remember, never stop working.